regulation. Now, there's a little information in the email about what regulation has to do with and what we're talking about when we're talking about regulation. In this 2-class series, regulation refers to the regulation of our nervous system. So upregulating, turning things up, and downregulating, turning things down. Now this is useful to us because when we're warming up, the purpose of a warm-up is 1, getting physically warm, but 2, upregulating the nervous system, getting you ready, active, prepared, preparing your muscles to fire quickly, and just getting everything tuned up and revving to go. Think of it like warming up your engine. Cooling down and down regulation can be used in cooling down, but we can also use it before bed to start restorative processes before we go to sleep, or also if we're just having a recovery day. This is active recovery we can do. So recovery is not just laying in bed, laying on the couch. It's actually taking the time to put work into the recovery process, just like you would put work into the exercise process. So we want to work on both ends of that spectrum because the actual changes that we want to happen, just like how the last 2 weeks we talked about, all the different changes that we want out of our exercises. These are the exercises we do to get these changes, but the changes are really made in recovery, not in the workout itself. The workout is the input and the recovery creates the output, which is the desired effect: increased endurance, fat loss, muscular strength, whatever it may be, power. That's your output. So input is the exercise, recovery is when the magic happens, and then we have our output of our desired outcome. So today is upregulation, so we're going to be getting everything raised up, and we're going to be talking about a few different concepts. Now, when we're upregulating, we are specifically turning on and awakening our sympathetic nervous system. This is the nervous system that runs all of the hormones and activities needed that we are doing fight, flight, active, waking, very just active processes, as opposed to parasympathetic, which I remember by remembering paralyzed and parasympathetic. And the parasympathetic is your rest and digest. So this one is running when you're sleeping, resting, after you've eaten food, and you're doing your digestive processes. So we have sympathetic today for upregulation, and this can be used for warm-ups, but also great things to do first thing in the morning if you're trying to wake up your whole system and really feel alive. And then tomorrow we'll be doing our down regulation, so recovery and cool down systems. So first, let's introduce our concept of proprioception. So let's get up and stand up at the top of our mat. And proprioception is essentially our body's ability to feel the world around us. So our body thinks in feelings, or it sees in feelings and thinks in feelings. So I like to imagine a really good example of this is, say you drop your keys or something under your car seat, and you're reaching under and you're feeling around for the keys or whatever you've dropped. You're feeling, you're seeing with your hands, your proprioception with your hands. We use our hands a lot. We're constantly touching them, looking at them. So our proprioception with our hands is usually quite high, but other parts of our body, particularly the back, we tend to have them wrapped up in shoes all day, as opposed to our hands, which are exploring and getting input from lots of different sources. So we're standing up. We're going to first just test our proprioception of our balance on our feet, and then we're going to give a little input and see if we change that proprioception. So feet together, and make sure you're in a safe place to do this. We're going to be doing our balance, so hands can go on your hips. Keep your hips level, and we'll pull one leg up, and then let's close our eyes and feel that balance. Using your visual tracking and feeling through your foot. Go ahead, open your eyes. Let's switch sides now. Lift up the foot, close your eyes, feel the balance there. And so you Feel all this input coming in from your foot. So just notice how the right and left felt as we did that. And now we're going to go in and we're going to awaken through proprioceptive processes our foot. So let's all do our right foot or whatever foot you do. We're just going to do one side and then we're going to go and see how that balance feels and compare those two sides. We've done this before, but we're going to do a little bit quicker. So when we're doing our upregulation, myofascial touching, self-massage, touching ourselves, touch is a very powerful tool. When we're doing that for the purposes of upregulation, we're going to be very brisk and vigorous, and we're thinking about, tussling hair or, giving somebody a rub on the back vigorously or patting them on the back. These are things that we awaken our nervous system. So crank back your big toe, feel for the plantar fascia, which is going to pop out when you pull back on your big toe, and make a fist with the other hand, and we're just going to scrub up and down quite vigorously. And we're looking to create some friction. You can go over the different sides and just scrub away at that foot, up and down on that plantar fascia, and through the whole middle of the arch. And invigorating scrub. And all we're doing here is we're just using touch right now. And now side to side on the arch, and stick your two thumbs into the middle of your ball of your foot, and you're going to press down, squeeze, and curl the toes. Make a little fist out of your toes. And again, where you just kind of like you're molding clay, a little bit fast, working it. And now stretch the toes. Just a nice stretch back for each one. And then finally, I want you to pull down the top skin of the foot. Nice and quickly here. Nice little skin slide over the top, and finish just giving that foot an overall rub. So all we've done is just a nice massage session with this foot, touching all over the foot. Let's go back to the top of the mat, and we're going to check that closed eye single leg balance test and see if we can feel a difference between our 2 feet. Up at the top of the mat, feet together, big toes together, and let's go ahead, start on the side you didn't touch yet first. So I didn't touch my left foot, so I'm going to lift up that right foot, hands on our hips, and I'm going to hold my balance. Okay, definitely still wobbly on this side. Bring it back down. Now let's do that second side that we just gave a little session to. And if you look down at the tops of your feet, you might even notice that they look different. And lift up the foot you did not roll, and close your eyes. Now, bring both feet down together, and just having them standing next to each other, close your eyes. And we're just feeling here how the difference of the 2 feet feel on the floor. So that is just a quick example of the power of touch. Now let's scrub our other foot so we get both sides done. Starting up at the top, crank that big toe, make a fist, and scrub up and down with the plantar fascia vigorously. We want friction. It's a massage. You're not pushing too hard. So generally the faster you're going to be pushing, the lighter. All the different sides and across. Go ahead, both thumbs in the center of the ball of the foot, and squeeze and make a little fist out of that foot. Foot fist. Stretch the toes. Each one gets its own stretch. And pull the skin down the top of the foot. And just get all of that. Just stretch all the skin from the ankle and the sides, all the way down the toes. Your skin should slide around. So if you notice that your skin has a hard time sliding in an area, work that. You should have good skin slide. Notice on the top of your hand how much that skin can move around. So that's skin slide. So sometimes we might notice our skin is even tight in areas, and this method can help over time. All right, so now we've done our touch with our feet. We're gonna move on to using breath and breathing techniques in specific ways to wake up our nervous system using breath. So first thing we'll be doing is combining breath and touch before we do just breath. So for this breath, we're inhaling into our rib cage and we're expanding. There's muscles in between each rib, and we're gonna expand like a balloon. Stretch each muscle between each rib as big as you can. Then we're gonna hold that breath and tap all over. So let's get ready. Exhale all your air. Inhale, expand it, and tap while you hold that all over the torso and the back, and we're just waking up all of this. Let's take another deep breath in, stretch, and tap. And exhale. Give the legs a nice rub, circles on the thighs and the hips and the abdominals and the arms. And this kind of invigorating skin touch is a great way to just excite, warm up, but it also tunes you in to all these places on your body. If you think of maybe a creepy moment, but if you have a spider or some kind of creepy crawly crawl on you, right? And even though it has long gone, that area is now so sensitive, right, that you feel anything on that. So that's a great example how touch, just a simple touch, brings awareness to that part, somewhere where we weren't really aware of. That feeling is always there, but our brain is going to tune different things out depending on what it finds more important, right? All the information that we're able to tap into, it's always coming in. It's always constantly coming in. It's just whether you're filtering it out or not. And sometimes we filter out parts of our body. So that can be a great way. Just touch is very simple, but highly effective. So breath, moving on, we've done a little stretching into our thoracic. We're gonna take it down and lay down for our next breath. So down on the floor, you can have your feet up or down, whatever is more comfortable for you. And for this breath, we're gonna take a full 3D breath. This is gonna be both into our belly and into our rib cage. You're gonna expand in all directions, out, in as deep as you can, and then to exhale, instead of controlling your exhale like we normally do when you, right? You're slowing that air. So for this, we're gonna inhale, and then when we're ready to exhale, we're just gonna let it all out. Do not slow it, just let it exhale. The belly's gonna fall back down, and then we're gonna inhale again, and all right, and we're going to do this for a series of 10 breaths. Now you always wanna make sure you're doing something like this laying down, or at least, at the very least, please be sitting down, because you can get dizzy breathing quickly, especially if you're not used to it. So best position. This is also great in the morning to help stir the pot and wake you up first thing. So here we go, full 3D breath. Breathing normally. So this breathing is very exciting for our nervous system. If you think when you first start running, times like that, we adopt a very similar breathing style. So This is part of that nervous system. We can do things that happen when that nervous system is naturally running that will, in reverse, stimulate that same nervous system. Same thing can happen if you scrunch up your face in pain. Your brain is actually going to get signals for that pain signal. Even you're not going to feel pain, but it might start to associate pain with those processes and tighten muscles in ways that you can't feel. This is why whenever we're doing foam rolling, I always tell people no pain face. If you're doing this, you're also going to be tensing. Even though you're not feeling pain, you're making pain face, and your brain will interpret and send the same responses out. So something to keep in mind, that you can work both ways on this. You can also use your face and other things to help relax muscles, or likewise breathing to stimulate. So let's come on up, and for our next topic we're going to kind of cover here is stretching. And I think stretching is something that maybe a lot of people are not sure about, even though it's something that we hear about so often. And I think everybody says, oh, I got to stretch more, I need to increase my flexibility. So it's kind of on our mind, and we know we have to do it. But I think a lot of us are confused about what good stretching is, what stretches should I do, and when should I stretch. So the answer is you can stretch before a workout, after a workout, and aside from a workout. And much like how we wanted to do different things in order to get different responses in our exercise choices, that same concept holds true for our stretches. So we're going to cover 3 types of stretch, and 2 of them we're going to go into today. And then we're going to cover 1 more tomorrow that's more suitable for down regulation. And that's actually probably the most popular kind of stretch that most people know about, which is static stretching. Static stretching is your typical pulling yourself into a deep range of motion and just holding it for 30 to 45 seconds. I think that's kind of the common thought of what a stretch is. That kind of stretching, however, is best reserved for after a workout or even aside from a workout. The reason being, all the research supports this, that when you're doing that kind of long static stretching, you can actually change your muscles' idea of what correct length is, and it's going to increase your possibility of injury in a strength workout, athletic workout. So do not do your static stretching before your workout. Instead, what we're going to do today is dynamic stretching and contract release stretching. So dynamic stretching is a stretch where you are moving through a range of motion and being active through a range of motion rather than just going to the end of the range of motion and holding. So for example, something as simple as doing this as I'm moving side to side, that would be a dynamic stretch, versus if I twisted and held, that would be a static stretch. So this dynamic, right, of course, means moving style of stretching. Sorry, I have my workout for today on a different sheet than I had. All right. Oh, of course, because we're not going to start with dynamic stretching, even though I just explained it. So the second kind is contract release stretching. So this kind of stretching might resemble static stretching from the outside, but in fact you're being quite active in this stretch. We've done this a couple times before. But essentially what you're going to be doing is pulling your body. I'm just going to use this as an example, but right, we come to our first point of where I feel resistance in my stretch. Then I would squeeze my opposite muscle. So I would squeeze, because I'm stretching my hamstrings, I'm going to squeeze my top thigh muscle, my quads, squeeze, flex, 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 squeeze, 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 squeeze for 3, 2, 1, and then release into the next point where I feel that stretch. Then I'm going to repeat that again. Squeeze, intense, this is the contract part of the stretch, and then I release into a deeper part. The reason that this is effective over the typical static stretch is in this contract release. That contraction of your muscles, the activation of your muscles, that's the key to keeping it safe for before your workouts. So you want that muscle activity in the range of motion that you're in, as opposed to complete lax, just stretching it as far as you can without actual activation, right? Because if you were doing that when you were loaded, that could cause some serious problems with your joints and ligaments and tendons. So we want to make sure we're able to squeeze our muscles in the range of motion, contract our muscles, basically intensify into the stretch. So we're going to do a series of stretches where we can use this contract release that I really like, but maybe you think of them as static stretches, but there's ways to make them contract release stretches and therefore effective for a pre-workout stretch. So first one we're going to be doing is our open book into a pretzel. So we're laying on our side and bottom leg straight and top leg up into the chest. You're going to hook below onto this knee here, that's what that's called, with your lower arm, and then that bottom leg nice and straight out, make sure it's not bent. This top arm we're going to reach up and over, and our goal is to get our shoulder to the ground. So if we can't do that yet, right, we're going to use a contract release. Kick up that lower leg and we're going to grab onto it with our foot. And here's where our contract release, we're also going to use some of that breath work. So we're going to inhale into this part of our chest, stretch the ribs, and we're going to push kind of almost like you're pulling away from the floor, but I don't want you to actually move, just almost this squeezing of this area as we inhale and stretch it, and then when you exhale, we're going to release these muscles, the ones that we're just squeezing, we're going to release back down to the floor. We're going to do 3 times of our contract and release. Hold your contraction for 5 seconds. So here we go. I'm going to start from the beginning, reaching my arm up and over and grab onto that foot. Now I'm going to inhale, breathe into the chest, squeeze and contract. Exhale, release. And then repeat again. Inhale, contract. Exhale, release. One more, last one to try and get the shoulder to the floor. Inhale, contract. Exhale, release. And go ahead, let go of the foot, and we're going to work the other side. So hopefully you're able to feel that effect of you kind of hit your first point where you're like, okay, I can't stretch any further, and then after contracting, when you release, you go past that point. And this is just a really simple way of kind of hacking this safety system that your body has to stop you from stretching too far. So it's really easy to do, and we can do it with almost any stretch. So here we go, opening up, and then I'm going to grab the foot, inhale, squeeze, exhale, and again, inhale, squeeze, last one, inhale, squeeze, exhale, nice, go ahead, let go of the foot, and gently roll around. For our next one we're going to do is a figure 4 stretch, and we're going to do the same process, but for this we're going to lay on our back. So feet on the floor, you're going to cross one leg over the other. This is our figure 4. It should look kind of like an upside down number 4 to you. We're going to use contract release here when we bring in our hips. So we're going to do pushing away on the inner thigh and pulling on this foot. Bring that leg in. until you feel your first point of resistance, first point of stretch. And then you're going to inhale, contract, and we're pushing kind of against your hands. So the way that your hands are pushing you right now, you're going to resist and push against that. So first point of resistance, and then contract, inhale. Exhale, see if you can release back in a little bit deeper. And we're gonna do 2 more. Inhale, contract. Squeeze, squeeze, resist your hands. It's like you're pushing into your hands. Exhale, release, let your hands push your legs a little further. 1 more. Squeeze, inhale, contract, and release. Release that leg back down, switch sides, figure 4 on the opposite side. Push on the inner thigh and hands on the foot. Point of first resistance where you first start to feel your stretch, and then push into your hands. Exhale, release, pull deeper into the stretch. And again, inhale, squeeze and resist, push against your hands, push, push, push. And exhale, relax those muscles a little deeper. And last one, push and release. Let that leg back down and down to the side. We got 2 more. First, we're going to go to kneeling adductor stretch. So for this one, onto your hands and knees. We're going to put one leg out to the side. Foot is flat on the ground. Hopefully you can see that. And what I want to be doing, I'm going to rock back to the first point of resistance. I'm going to push actively this foot down into the ground. So it's like I'm trying to keep going through the floor. And we're going to keep our hips straight over our knees. Make sure you're not going out to the side. You want to keep it straight forward and back. So we're going to do, again, 3 times. Contract, pushing down into the ground, and then exhale, relax a little bit deeper into the stretch. So inhale and push for 5, 4, 3, 2, and release deeper. Second point of resistance. Push down into the floor, squeeze, 5, 4, 3, 2, and release. And last one, push and squeeze, 5, 4, 3, 2, and release. Definitely really effective to get past that kind of first inhibition of stretch there. So again, out to the side and going to push back first. Oh, this one's really tight. Push back, first point of resistance, and push down. 3, 2, 1. Relax and push down. Squeeze. 4, 3, 2, and relax. Much better. Last one, squeeze and push for 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. So definitely gets a lot more range there. And last one we're going to be doing is our standing quadruped stretch. So you do want something to hold on to, a wall or a chair or something sturdy while we do this, because you don't want you to focus on your balance. So typical kind of quadruped stretch you see people running on the street. We're going to put one leg back, grab onto it with our foot, and you're going to pull that to your first point of resistance where you feel just enough stretch in your quad. Make sure you don't extend your back. Okay, keep your hips forward as you pull that back. Don't pull into this bow shape. You want to keep that core nice and tight without having to use your back. So first point of resistance here, and then what you're going to do is push your quad and push your foot down into your hand like you're trying to kick your leg forward and squeeze like that, and when you relax you're going to pull that leg back a little further. So here we go, first point of resistance, and squeeze for 5, 4, 3, 2, relax. And squeeze for 5, 4, 3, 2. I don't know how much further. I'm probably using too much back. And last one, 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, let's do the other side. Core engaged, butt engaged. Point of first resistance and push into your hand for 5, 4, 3, 2. Relax the muscle. Much better. And squeeze for 5, 4, 3, 2. And last one, squeeze for 5, 4, 3, 2. Nice, excellent. A lot more range out of that. So those are just a quick series of some contract release exercises that you can do. Of course, once you kind of understand this concept of like pushing against and then pulling yourself into a deeper part of the stretch, I think it's a little bit easier to kind of apply that to other stretches. If you've taken any of the primal body weight with bands or the stick, or maybe you want to go back and try those again, those are great examples of where we use contract releases in our other classes in order to get deeper into the stretch, so that intense squeeze hold and then letting it relax and pull deeper into the stretch. So now we're going to get more into that dynamic factor, coming back down to the ground quadruped. So this is where we're stretching, but we're going to be moving through our stretch. So I'm going to inhale, reach through, and come back up to center and switch sides. Now you can do these for time or for reps, but we're just going to work back and forth here. Let's do about 18 of these or so. So we're stretching our T-spine, getting a little push-up out of one shoulder, and I'm moving around, active, reaching through that range of motion. Remember to keep breathing. We already talked about how important that is. And then we can take it up to doing inchworms. So standing up at the top of your mat, keeping the legs straight, forward fold, walk forward with the hands into a plank, and then walk those feet in, straight legs. So we're getting a dynamic stretch of our hamstrings here, right? We're stretching those hamstrings, but we're doing it through a range of motion, so our muscles are active, right? As opposed to that passive stretch where we're just lax, walking it in, getting that dynamic, also known as active or mobility. It goes by many names. Now up at the top of the mat, another dynamic hamstring move, the Frankenstein walk. So you reach across as you kick your leg up, straight leg, stretching those hamstrings. Keep the back neutral. If you can't touch, just don't touch. I would rather you do that than do this, all right? So keep it straight and to the point where we're stretching our hamstrings, okay? And you can walk forward and backwards, and we're getting coordination. Our gait pattern, breathing, stretching hamstrings. Excellent. Taking it to the wall now, something you can stand against, or you can just do it in the air, but just be careful that you're not sticking your arm out to the side. You want to keep it straight up and back, but if you have a wall, leg in front is going to be next to the wall, leg behind is on the outside of the wall. Inhale, reach back. Exhale as you go down. And we're getting a big shoulder range of motion active with our breathing. And switching sides. Leg closer to the walls in front, hips straight forward. Inhale and exhale. Now only go as fast as you're comfortable. Obviously I'm comfortable going quite quickly, but it's not the speed that matters, it's the movement, okay? So as quickly as you are comfortable with. Do not do anything that is painful. Now last thing we're gonna do, and this is dynamic, but we can also incorporate some of our contract release, is the shin box. If you have a mat, I recommend laying your butt bones on the back edge and having your heel bones on the front edge. That way you know if you're moving forward or crawling around, you should be staying put in your shin box. And you achieve that by pushing your butt back and not allowing your hips to crawl forward towards your feet. So push back through your heels. Each leg is 90 degrees. You don't want your heels closed in. Bring them out and knee touching the opposite heel. And we're gonna come over to the side to add a little contract. You can squeeze and push your knees down into the ground and switch. And this is a lovely dynamic stretch active warm up. I'm sure anybody takes my classes regularly, very familiar with how much I love the shin box for my dynamic warm-ups. All righty. So again, only as quickly as comfortable. I don't care if you go at a snail's pace. But again, if you're going for your warm-up, a good even tempo generally is good. Don't go faster than you can control. I would generally say for anything, don't go faster than you're able to control. Keep it at your pace where you can really get into it, and then with time you'll find that it's easier for you to connect with each part of that movement. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit more about some more prep kind of work, moving on past our stretching. And so what we want to think about when we're talking about how to warm up specific body parts for an exercise. What warm up should I do for X? What warm up should I do for squats? What do I warm up when I'm going to do deadlifts? What do I warm up when I'm going to do pull-ups? Okay? The best warm up for any exercise is the exercise itself. And it sounds kind of weird when you say it like that, but what it means really is, say you're going to do some heavy kettlebell squats. Well, the best thing you can do to warm up for a squat is to do things that are squats or look like squats, but you don't necessarily have to do them loaded. So for example, or for another example that you want to bring in there, or another element you want to bring in there, is doing the movement in different ways. So say you're only going to kettlebell squat one way, right, just up and down. Prepping for that squat, prep your squat dynamically in many ranges of motion. So this can go with that kind of dynamic stretching category, but it's kind of more like specific to warm-ups versus regulation. But this again helps us tune into that movement pattern. So if I'm going to do a squats, what I want to do, I can do B stance squats where my legs are apart. I can do together. I like to do feet together, and then I'll put my toes out, and then I'll bring my heels out and toes out. And I'm just doing as many different squats as I possibly can before I do a loaded up version. And we have lots of different kinds of squats we can do. We can do Cossack squats, we can do B stance squats, we can do just body weight squats. We have a great variety. So let's just go through a categories of movements that we're going to talk about, and then we'll go through the exercises. Just a couple examples today because we still have one more topic to cover. It's kind of a lot for upregulation, but don't worry, you can always come back and watch this again. So we have pressing and pushing movements. So this is going to be your chest press, your bench press, your push-up. The way to prep for those is I love to do crawling patterns. I might do some kind of pressing, but generally push-ups are pretty hard in and of themselves. So for me, a crawling pattern, just crawling on the ground or even inchworms is an excellent example of that we did earlier. So that particular loading of singular at a time, you're getting core timing tuned in. You're also prepping your rotator cuffs and your shoulders for loading. And also if we think back to when we first learned to use our shoulders, crawling is really one of the first ways. I guess babies do little push-ups too, little cobras. Second one is pulling. So pressing, right, or pushing, you're pushing away. Pulling, pulling in. Prepping for that, I like to do things where I'm just moving my shoulder blades, scapular push-ups, downward dog position, or with a band if you have a band. A little bit more difficult to do body weight, but again, just mimicking the movement, but a small piece of the movement also as well. Squats, of course, we just talked a little bit about that, but B-stand squats, Cossack squats, doing them every which way, feet together, just practicing any kind of squat. Lunges, you can also do lunges to prep for squats, but if you're gonna do lunge work in your workout itself, just doing body weight lunges, also inline lunges, lateral lunges, and we're gonna do just quick examples of all of these really quick, but wanted to go over them first. And the last one we have is deadlift. So actually the couple things that we did, inchworm can be pretty good, the Frankenstein can be pretty good, but specifically for hip hinge, just doing a single leg body weight where you're reaching single leg deadlift, that's great as well. And small kind of tail end addition to all of this in regards to warming up for a specific workout, this would kind of be the last bit that you do right before you do your workout. So you start just how we've been going through this class, touching, breathing, then getting into stretches, specific stretches of areas that you'd like to open up before you work out. And now we're getting into prepping specifically for our warm-up or our workout with our moves. That also, doing the exercises you're gonna do in your workout, a great warm-up is, again, doing the exercise you're gonna do. So you're gonna do squats to warm up. But in addition to doing body weight of all varieties, when you work up to your working weight, gradually increase each set. This is a great way to activate your muscles, activate more excitation in these muscles, so they or in the muscles you're working, so they fire more effectively. This is probably one of the best ways to warm up, is just to have a gradual loading set. Say I'm going to do lunges, I want to do lunges with 50 pounds. After I do some body weight lunge work to warm up, then working up to, before I just go in with my 50 pounds, I'm going to do a set with 20, and then I'm going to do a set with 30, and then 40, and then my 50. So that's a great example of how to use gradual loading as well. Very, very effective, highly effective. Cannot recommend that enough if you're trying to lift heavy. Is do what you're going to do it light, do it body weight, and then build up to it. Don't go right in, or don't try to go even like close. You know, if I'm going to lift 50, don't warm up with 40. Start at 20. Do the gradual load increase. So really cut it down and then build it back up. Okay, so now that we've done all of that yapping, let's go back to practicing those specific movements. So number one, for pressing, you could do this for pulling as well, but for pushing and pressing, we're talking about crawling. So first one, really easy, hands and knees, and you can keep your knees down as you tap, or if your level is a little higher, digging your feet in, lifting the knees and tapping. And I'll just do a series of 10 or 20 and set a timer as I do so. So this crawling pattern, I'm warming up my wrists, I'm feeling for the center of my hands, and I'm also getting my core timing going. Last one would be all the way in the plank as you tap. And then if we're going to talk about another way is just doing the scapular part of the pushing and pressing with our scapular push-up. So we can do this in our plank, we can do this in our beast, and we can even do this quadruped on the ground. This is a great example of something that's hard to feel in the beginning. We're not very familiar with this part of the back, so really if you're having a hard time feeling what's going on when you're trying to do a scapular push-up, doing that breathing and tapping, getting a foam roller, get your body talking to that part of your body. Get your mind talking to that part of your body. Okay, so just a quick review there. Pushing, pressing, you have quadruped with taps, you could do beast with taps, you could do plank with taps, or you could do all three in a set, and that's a great example of gradual loading, and then you could go into push-ups from there, or whatever you're going to be doing, pressing or pushing. And then the other part is scapular push-ups, so just moving the scapula in a horizontal, squeezing together and back motion. This is something that you do in your pressing as well, so it's just practicing part of the movement. Best thing to do the movement, or the best thing to do the movement of the exercise for your warm-up. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm stumbling, you know. So, next one, pulling, very similar, but coming back into a downward dog, so you have your biceps by your ears, so we're more vertical, and doing a scapular push-up from there. So letting your shoulder blades set low, and then putting them up high so your shoulders go more by your ears. Just up and down there. Again, this is part of our pulling movement. If we were going to do pull-ups, a lat pull down, maybe even a row would be a little more horizontal, but pretty much any of the ones that we just did for pulling or pushing. Moving on now to warming up for our squats. We have Cossack squats and V-stand squats, but of course you're not limited there. Squats are kind of like really limitless. We're very built to squat. It's very natural for us, and we can kind of do it every which way. One of my favorites though is Cossack squat. Feet straight and wide. You're going to take it down to one side, and then you can crawl it over to the other side, or if you're able to stay low, going to the other side on your own. You can come up in the middle. You know, I don't want to encourage any one correct, strict way. If you're doing this way or this way, they're both going to help prepare you for your squats. So it's not like one is going to make it bad for your squats, as long as you're following the basic rules, which is keep moving. The second one is B-stand squats. For this B-stance, I've got one foot in front of the other, so they're not next to each other, or you could call this a split stance, and same, just up and down in your squat. Keep both feet flat on the ground and obey your squat rules. Knees go over the little toes, they don't cave in, right? Nice and straight, and both feet stay on the ground. If you obey your basic squat rules, also my hips and my knees move, and my hips go down, and you can do your squat any way you want. And then lunges. So I have inline lunge, great dynamic stretch, great for prepping lunges. One foot right in front of the other, straight up and down. Really gets good flexibility in our back, calf, and ankle. Again, one in front of the other. Beautiful. And then, of course, you can do any variety of lunge. A forward lunge where you reach across. I love to use these. You can do it forward. You can do it reverse. You can even do it laterally, right? With lunges, just make sure you're stepping. A squat, your feet stay still. A lunge, you're stepping forward and back. A lunge is a traveling squat. But they also work for warming up each other as well, since they're the same basic movement. Deadlift, really just have one good one here for you, but it's a single leg deadlift where you reach for your foot. And then what I really recommend for warming up your deadlift is this gradual increase sets. So, not too formal, but just kind of giving you the general lay of the land on the information there. We have one last topic that I'm going to cover really quickly, which is the most exciting one. And this is excitation. So I'm going to bring this up a little bit. I'm laughing because this one is fun, and you'll probably laugh when you do it too. Excitation, we're just doing explosive as much as you can. This is getting all your muscle neurons super fired up. You can do quick feet, fast as you can. Wow, warms up your legs like crazy. Like, it's really getting your legs firing and tingling. You're turning up that super highway of neurons. That's a really easy one. It's quick feet. We can also do jumping, squat jumps. We can do lunge jumps. You can stay on the same leg. The idea is explosive excitation. There's other things you can do with equipment, throwing balls, stuff like that, but this is kind of everything you can do just with you and your body. So I'm super warmed up, which is great, but that is the purpose of upregulation. You should feel ready to go, ready to do something. I would encourage you taking a flow class after this. That would be fun, or go back, rewatch Primal release classes, see if you recognize any of these patterns or these techniques. Yeah, if you follow these for your warm-ups or morning wake-ups, yeah, wake-up is a good way to put it. They're wake-ups, not rather than warm-ups. Wake-ups, so great way to do that. I enjoyed sharing this with you. I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. We're going to do down regulation, where we're going to activate our parasympathetic system, learn how to bring it down, cool down, relax. So if you are going to work out tomorrow, try doing it right before class, because then you can go right into a nice long cool down. Anyway, nice to see everybody today. Having a lot of fun bringing these new concepts to you, and I will see you tomorrow.